Hey guys, welcome to Sprinkle with Hope, and we have an amazing guest. Clint Pulver has joined us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Clint.
Happy to be here, guys. Thanks for letting me on the show.
So when I was introduced to Clint, I actually saw his video that he posts about being in elementary school and being a drummer and shares that story. And I shared it. And my sister-in-law said, "Hey, I know that guy." And I said, well, when we started our podcast, we thought we've got to have that guy on our podcast, right? He's such a great. So Clint, just tell us a little bit about yourself, what for our listeners who might not know who you are.
Yeah, I travel the world as a professional speaker and drummer, and speak to organizations and educational groups. We speak a lot to schools, and it depends on the audience what the message revolves around. But it's always a message of hope and how do we see opportunities and not the problems, and share that message of the teacher that changed my life with a pair of drumsticks, who created a moment that allowed me to live a better story. And so it's really been a fun career, and I've enjoyed it a lot.
That's awesome. So what interested you in getting into speaking and those things? Some people don't want to do that. What gets you in front of that crowd?
Yeah. People are like, "Oh my gosh, you speak for a living?" Most people would rather die.
Yeah.
Not usually the most coveted position in the world, but I love it, and I never actually wanted to grow up being a speaker. That was not like um, the end all be all. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to fly. I got my pilot's license when I was a senior in high school, and I was well on my way. And 2 years after that, I went to renew my driver's license, and I didn't pass the vision test. And I was diagnosed with an eye disease called keratoconus, and I was going blind. And so that derailed obviously the long-term hope of being a pilot. And I ended up going to school and kind of chased that world, kind of chased the money. I was like, well, I don't know what to do with my life, but I got to have benefits and stability and a 401k and, you know, something that's stable. And so I went into the medical field. I was an orthopedic consultant. I did that for 4 years post college and was just miserable. And I remember when I spoke for the very first time when I was a senior in high school, the guy asked me to go speak at a leadership conference, and I absolutely loved it. And it was the first time I felt like I was doing something that I loved. Second, I was able to do something bigger than myself. And third, I felt like I made money. Someone paid me to talk. I could provide. So it was kind of those three P's. And I've never really had anything in my life that allowed me, as far as a job, that's allowed me to do those three things, except for when I was speaking. And I remember out of just pain and stress and not being fulfilled, I ended up quitting my job. And 2 weeks later, I jumped into the world of professional speaking and
That's
became
awesome.
a speaker. And that was almost 4.5 to 5, almost 5 years ago. And I've been doing it full time ever since.
That's awesome. I really loved your story too, and maybe you could kind of share, this story about this, the drum sticks that you were given from your teacher. I think maybe there's some value, in you sharing that particular story, because I think that could be a lesson for all of us for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was the kid in school that always had a hard time sitting still. I was the kid that was always in trouble. I would constantly sit and just tap and tap and tap. Holding still for me has never been super easy. And obviously, if you're sitting in a room with someone and they're clicking their pen or they're tapping their foot, that gets annoying really fast. And I got bullied, I got teased, I got nicknames. People called me the Twitcher. I got called the Tapper. And I even got sent to the principal's office for not being able to sit still. And the principal's like, just sit on your hands, kid. And that worked for about 5 seconds. And it was continually a problem until one day there was a teacher, and his name was Mr. Jensen. And he told me to stay after class. And he pulled up a little chair and a big chair, and he sat me down and he said, listen, do you know why we're talking? You know why I told you to stay after class? And I said, yeah, it's because I tap. It's because I move. And he said, listen, I've watched you, and I know you're the problem. You're the problem kid. You're the kid that everybody talks about. You get teased. You tap in my class. You tap in everybody else's class. You're the kid that got sent to the principal's office 2 weeks ago because you just can't sit still. He said, but it's crazy. As I've sat back and I've just observed, you'll start writing with your right hand, and then literally at the same time, you'll move your left hand, and then you can switch, and you'll start moving your right hand, and you'll write with your left hand. He said, I think you're ambidextrous. And I'm like, no, I'm Presbyterian. He's like, no, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. He goes, listen, he said, can you tap your head and rub your belly at the same time? And I was like, okay. And I could do it. And he goes, can you switch that? He said, can you rub your head and then tap your belly? Can you tap your head and rub your belly back and forth? I could do it without thinking about it. And he leaned back and he smiled and he looked at me and he said, I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer. And I've always been someone that has believed that a single moment in time can change a person's life.
Absolutely.
And if you look at, our lives, your life, and what makes it a great story, it's the moments. That's what we remember. We don't remember days. We remember moments, those experiences that were so significant that truly shape our lives. They help us to become who we are, who we hope to be. And in that moment, Mr. Jensen, the old teacher, he leaned back in his desk and he opened up the top drawer and he reached inside and he pulled out my very first pair of drumsticks.
So awesome.
And he put them in my hands and he said, Clint, I don't know what's going to happen, but I want you to just promise me you'll keep them in your hands. And that was a moment. That was a moment in time that changed everything for me. For over 22 years, I've had the opportunity to tour and record all over the world playing the drums and have kept those drumsticks literally in my hands. I've been on America's Got Talent. I've played with some incredible people. I started the first drumline in my high school. I started the first drumline at Utah Valley University. I coached the drumline for the Jazz. I just won an Emmy Award for creation and music and directing. And it never would have happened without Mr. Jensen. And I don't say all those things to go, oh, wow, good for you, Clint, or what was that like? The reason I say those things is because the value and the importance of good people seeing good things in others, choosing to see the opportunities, not the problems. Right. I think there's two types of people in this world, those that constantly see a problem. You can look at something beautiful and they still say, nah, I don't like the paint. Right. I don't like how it sits or the design of that. They always will see a problem. And then there's the people that always see opportunities. Yeah. They always see the good in something. And I think we need more of that in our world today. And really it's a message of being a Mr. Jensen. Yeah. See good, see what's right, see the solution, not the problem.
That is such a powerful story. I love that. When I saw that video, it really touched me. I had to share it. To hear it again, there's just as much power. I think thanks goes out to Mr. Jensen, but I also think thanks goes out to you for allowing your mind to accept that opportunity to learn from him. It wasn't just him teaching you, but it was also you saying, you know what? Maybe he's right. And now look what's happened. I just want to read this quote from your website. I saw this morning. I thought this is awesome. You say, it's not about being the best in the world. It is being the best for the world. That is deep. I love that. Can you expound a little bit on that? What do you mean behind that?
Yeah, I think it's the difference between success and significance. Sometimes success, we deem that as being the best in the world, having the best car, having the best house, having the best job, having the best position, or we just strive for that, right? And there's nothing particularly wrong with that. It's good to be successful. I think there's value there. But in reality, significance is about being the best for other people. It's different between passion and purpose. And I have found the greatest amount of fulfillment in my life when I've strived to be the best for other people. And it's easy to get self-centered or to be in that world where you're comparing yourself to others, or you want to be accepted, or we want to be valued. Everybody wants to be seen, heard, and understood. But I think when we realize that there's more value in helping other people to be seen, helping other people to be heard, making sure that other people are understood, man, there's just a sense of fulfillment and lasting joy that comes from that. And I think that's what we remember, right? I love in the movie Sandlot. You guys have seen the movie Sandlot, right?
Oh yeah, I got a picture right behind me.
I know, I saw that and I was like, this is perfect. Awesome film. You got these punk kids that they're playing baseball and they hit this ball over the fence signed by Babe Ruth, and they've got the beast on the other side, this big old dog that's going to rip their face off. And they're in this pickle. And if you remember in the movie, the Babe appears to Benny in a dream.
Yeah.
Babe actually appears to him. And there's a pretty famous tagline. Do you guys know the parting words that the Babe Ruth says to Benny? Heroes get, you remember that?
Oh yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
Some heroes get something about remembered, or
There it is. Good. Yeah. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die.
That's right.
And every time I hear that, and every time I watch that movie, I always think to myself, heroes get remembered, but Mr. Jensen's never die.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll prove it, right? If I were to ask you guys, tell me who the last 3 NFL MVPs were.
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
I honestly can't remember.
Or, could you guys tell me who the last 2 Academy Award winners were for Best Actor?
Yeah. Nope.
Who were the last 2 Miss Americas? We have no idea. But tell me, shout out the name of the teacher that made a difference in your life.
Yeah, honestly, it was Mr. Black for me. He was a hard teacher, but I think he taught me a lot of valuable lessons, and I'll never forget him. And to go along with that, right? I had, my second grade teacher, Miss Sias. She was amazing because I was similar to you. I couldn't sit still and whatever, and
yeah,
I was kind of the class clown or whatever, but I think she kind of took me under her wing and helped me. So I love that you're bringing this conversation to light, and I think we do have value when we are in service of others, and that to me is so huge, because that's more than us, right? Like when we serve others, we get a sense of purpose and passion for ourselves, for the world, for others, and I absolutely think there's value in serving others.
Yeah, and that's what gets remembered. I told you to say, the list that the most famous, popular, prestigious, elegant, beautiful, wealthy people in the world, and we usually don't know who those people are, because really who they are hasn't gotten to the part about us.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking the question when you're in a relationship or a working relationship or even a friendship. Let me know when it gets to the part about me, right? Never forget a friend, but never let a friend forget you. And it's that relationship where you do feel seen, heard, and understood. And when people do that in a significant way by creating moments, it lasts. You remember Mr. Black. You remember those teachers, those friends, those people that they communicated your potential and your worth so well to the point that you saw it within yourself.
Yeah.
And they created moments, and that's what we remember. Heroes get remembered, but Mr. Jensen's never die.
I love it. I love it. So what's the most exciting thing happening in Clint's life right now?
Right now we are locked down in COVID, so there's not a lot of live speaking events happening, but we're doing a ton of virtual speaking events. So that's really exciting, and what we're doing a lot of. And then we've got a new book that is coming out, and spent the last 4 years of my life writing this. I will never do it again.
Almost
say
there.
that now. You say that now.
I know. I know. It has been a labor of love and quite a process. Yeah, the book is all based off of 4 years of research that I conducted as the undercover millennial, where I would go in undercover into organizations, kind of like undercover boss, without the makeup. And I would act as an employee who was looking for a job, and I would ask the employees what it was like to work here. And they would tell me everything, the good, the bad, what was working, what wasn't working. And we decided to title the book, I Love It Here, How Great Leaders Create Organizations That People Never Want to Leave. And it's all revolved around when great leaders were getting it right, and when the employees knew that the great leaders were getting it right. So it's a book written through their perspective of how leaders became significant in their lives, not just successful, and that increased profitability, engagement, loyalty, and influence in the workplace that we just need more of. And so I'm really excited to get that out into the world in April.
Awesome.
Almost there.
Almost there, just around the corner.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of work. I can't imagine all the effort that was put into that, and even writing a book is challenging in itself, but to do all that research and data collection and everything, that's awesome. Best wishes for that launch, and I'm sure you'll be pleased when it's done.
Yes, we will.
So go ahead, Jason.
I had another question I wanted to ask you that I heard this the other day on another podcast, and I thought it was amazing. But the question went like this: what is a question you wish more people would ask you?
Oh man.
I know. I heard it and I was like, that's awesome. I got to ask somebody. So sorry, Clint, you're the guinea pig on this one.
I think that there's a few. I don't know. It's all for me. I'm a new dad, and we've got another little baby on the way that's arriving
Congrats.
in January. So man, anytime I get to talk about my kids and my family and being a dad and the magic of that and creating moments for your little ones, oh man, that's a fun question. That's always something that's exciting to talk about.
Yeah. So tell us about being this, because I'm a father. I got 3 boys, and I got a couple teenagers, and Shane's got kids of his own, and so we love talking about our families as well. And so,
yeah,
how is family an important part of your life?
Oh man, it's everything. I kind of, I don't know. I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to be kind of a family guy. Yeah, I had career aspirations and things that I wanted to achieve and do in life, but ultimately it all kind of revolved around being able to provide and support a family. That might seem cliche or trite, but it's true. And so having that realization of every day I get to go to war for them, right? Every day I get to go and provide for them. Every day I'm building and doing something that, yeah, I'm trying to be the best for the world, but also I'm trying to be the best for my family.
Yeah.
I think no matter what success or whatever you achieve in this life, if your family falls apart or if family is not the center, man, I don't know. And there needs to be a refocus of priorities, in my opinion. And I don't know, being a dad and supporting them and being there for them and watching them grow and develop and seeing magic in their eyes and reliving some of my childhood experiences and watching them experience those things for the first time. Oh man, there's very few things in this world that is as good and fulfilling as that.
So soon you'll have sleepless nights.
Yeah.
Yet again.
Yes, yet again. You just rinse and repeat it, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So Clint, we have some questions for you that we call
the
double down dose.
Nice. Okay. Cool.
Go ahead, Jace.
So me and Shane like to ask these 2 questions to all of our listeners, and our podcast is called Sprinkle with Hope, and so we like to ask the question: what does hope mean to you? What does that mean to Clint? And how do we get more of it? And just a little bit about what hope is. And
awesome. 2 things come to mind. always have something to look forward to. I think that is what is something that creates hope. And then second, I would focus on a man by the name of James Stockdale, and it's called the Stockdale paradox. And he was a prisoner of war and was stuck in a small little 3 by 9 foot cell for over 7 years. He was tortured, he was interrogated, and he was finally freed. They came through, rescued everybody in the POW camp, and everybody asked him, "How did you do it? How did you do something that was so difficult and so hard?" And he simply said, "I never lost hope in the end of the story."
Mm.
And I think in the end of, right now we're in COVID, right? We're in the middle of it and numbers are rising every day. We're in the middle of a crazy election year. And it is easy to see the problems, but there are still opportunities despite that. And I think in the end of all of this, we're going to be okay. And if we're not okay, then it's not the end. And so again, it's having hope and faith and perspective on the end of the story. Have something to look forward to. Have something to focus on, that this is what I guess gives me hope in times of hardship. It's the vision. It's the end of the story. It's the good things. It's the possibilities of what could be. And when I focus on that and I don't lose faith in that, that's what helps me to create hope in times where there isn't a lot or it's hard to see.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. So the second part of the double down dose is how would you define love?
I would define love like Christmas morning. There's a certain sense of, I know that sounds really weird, but there's a magic and a sense of significance that comes from, right, opening presents on Christmas morning, right? The magic and the possibility of what's going on, what's happening. And I think as I've fallen in love, and I think love is a continual thing that you have to keep working on to create and sustain. But man, the beginning pieces of when you're falling in love, the only thing I've been able to compare it to is Christmas morning. And I know that sounds really weird, but to me, that's what it feels like. That's what it's like. It's that magical possibility of really great things to come. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
awesome.
I love that. And it kind of reminded me of something the other day. I saw this, these people were asked kids, what their definition of love was. And it was interesting because I think it was maybe a 6 or a 7-year-old kid had said their definition of love was Christmas morning, but watching everybody else open their presents, not about them,
Yeah,
that true love of watching the joy on everybody else's face. And like,
yeah,
kids teach us so much, and they're amazing. And I love that you brought that, because it kind of reminded me of that little study that they had done.
totally. Yeah, it's a powerful word. I think it's also a commitment, right? Like, love is a commitment, and it's not always easy. It requires sacrifice. It's like passion, right? Passion
Yeah.
is something you suffer for. You're willing to suffer for, and I think that love comes from that for sure. And yeah, it's a powerful word, powerful
It
question.
is.
That's awesome. We have really enjoyed this discussion with you. Some fantastic insight. Clint, for our listeners and those who want to get in touch with you, how do you want to share that with them? How can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can contact me through Instagram. Instagram is just Clint Pulver, and then my website, clintpulver.com.
Awesome. And before we let you go, just one last question that I have for you, Clint. Is there any question that we haven't asked you yet that you would like us to?
I don't think so, man. You guys have totally covered it. I think it's so cool what you guys are doing, and we just need more podcasts and more things like this in the world that promote goodness.
Yeah, we love to do it, and are happy to have you on, and so grateful for your time, for coming and joining us. I know that life gets busy and things get going on, especially with you preparing for a new little one. So congratulations there, and
Yeah.
Thank you.
And best of luck with your book. I look forward to reading it in April. So definitely keep us posted on that.
Okay, you got a deal. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Clint.